streets in this area to begin with. Beautiful. How about next we'll do some zoning? The time has come, the moment you've all been waiting for. Well, first our industry steel area. And then we take a peek around here. We're thinking about where do we want this lemonade factory to be? And I decide I can't commit yet, so we're just gonna lay it down right here in the ore industry. That's one of the buildings we're gonna move. I wanted to get that going and getting some profit from it. Crops are coming in, glass is gonna be coming in. Our profit's gonna skyrocket, I can tell already. How's it going, everyone? Had some fun last episode. Some magical editing, adding in a lot of residents, adding in our ore industry. We got our lemonade factory going. This is the new area we're going to focus on today. You can see I've prepped it a little bit. These roads were included with the map. I think I'm going to utilize them. I'm going to give this interesting freeway off and on-ramp situation a chance before I demolish it. I want to see how it works. For this area, we're going to add our forest industry throughout this full area in Thigh High Village. We're going to add a lot of residential and some commercial. This is going to be a brand new town in our city. That's the plan. We're going to try to expand. You can see our our residential demand is very high. Commercial demand's getting up there. We don't have an industry demand, so that means we got to get some people into town first. We could probably start building out the forest industry while we let that grow and establish, then we can build out this new residential area. That's the plan for today. Alright, so the plan's laid out, it's time to build. Right now we got to take care of this residential demand so that we can get more industry demand kicking in. We'll have to take care of a little bit of that commercial demand as well, I feel, to get the industry demand to skyrocket as much as we need. Trying to finish all the industries here in the next few episodes so that we can be a massively profitable city and build a cool factory area where all of our factories live. I'm going to move all those around to a single area and kind of turn that into our industry hub. But you can see we're laying down some fancier roads out here. I do want this to be a more expensive area to live, I guess, when we get done with it. This first area we're building out is our high density area for this town, and I like to build little apartment complex type things. I want to get better assets for this. I've always thought it would be cool to have just typical apartment complexes that are at the entry of the neighborhood, I guess you would say, and then behind them we will add some low density. That's a pattern that I notice in areas where I live. You'll come off the freeway, you'll make a quick turn, you'll see maybe a shopping center, and then a little bit down the road you'll see an apartment complex, and then a little bit further down the road is the entry into the normal subdivision or residential area. So that's what we're going with here, and we're building them their parking so that they can have their own parking areas just like apartment complexes have, and that's where we go with this. And since I'm a huge fan of the self-sufficient homes, we're gonna add another area of that here. Across on the other side of the freeway, we'll probably build that a little similar to our farming neighborhood. We're not gonna have it attached to the forest industry like we did with the farms, but we're gonna have it nearby. We're gonna focus on those being probably lower income houses, people that work in the farming industry. They're not necessarily gonna go after high-tech jobs when we go out to those. We're not going to focus on them being highly educated so that we can keep them working in the industry areas. And this area here potentially could grow into the feeder system for the high-tech industry that I want to build later on in the series. So right now we're just building our little residential area road system. Kind of just went super random on this one. And this was something I thought was cool, these zonable paths. Put the parks on them. Instead of having it on a main road, I put it on something that some cars can drive on, but they typically don't, and people can walk to the parks that way. Something different I wanted to try out. So there we go, we're zoning, we're getting it going. And again, these are going to be the self-sufficient homes, and this district is called No Show. Kind of poking fun at my own name. We're going to name some of these districts after styles of socks. Easy for me to say. But we do add a school down here. We'll probably need to, and I didn't in this episode, but need to add a high school in this area as well. We need to take a peek at our education as a whole and take care of that. So we discovered our pre-made roundabout was pointed the wrong direction, so we had to flip that around and add an extra lane. And right there I used Traffic Manager mod to help me automatically make the 2 lanes have the right style of turns. We want the right-hand lane to turn right. We want the left-hand lane to go straight through. That's how I treat roundabouts. It seems to be the most efficient way. And here we're just adding in a little bit more details, putting in some more trees down and some more bushes to make this new park area look more full and finished. So this is the first city that I'm building where I'm going full on every style of industry. Typically I do one and have that as the main industry of the town, and kind of in my head there's other cities close by that specialize in the other type of industries that we don't do in our town. But for this series I decided we're gonna go full on industry. We're gonna get as much profit as possible. We're gonna have that huge factory location like I mentioned, and we're gonna be super profitable. So right here we're adding in a shopping center. This is gonna be like a main strip off of that roundabout, as you can see, where the commercial for this area is gonna be. Later on we do add some residential around it. Some of this stuff that I built in this episode might change as I reflect, as I'm doing these voiceovers during this time lapse. There's a moose. I had no idea there's moose in this game. Anyways, some of the stuff that we built in this episode, I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't 100% a fan of after I reflected on it, and some of it's gonna change. I think I don't want to just settle for it. We made it in an episode, so it stays that way. Maybe in between episodes I'll go change it around and show you guys at the beginning of the next one, but overall I think it turned out good. The plan was to get that demand down so that we could start getting some industry demand. See, at this point we start zoning our forest area. Chestnut Sector. I kind of like that name, so I stuck with it. Here I'm building in just like the main entry for the forest area. I wanted there to be 2 connections for people to come in and out of the forest industry. It'd probably be more ideal to have 3, but we went with 2 for this one. And this was close to the moment I realized how much slope was involved with that mountain and the area I picked for the forest. It made it more challenging. Honestly, I've thrown away cities because there's too much terrain and it hurts my head to deal with it. Went on with this one. I just pulled it a little bit lower on the mountain so that we get a little bit flatter land. Later on, when we start running out of space, I did start doing some terraforming to flatten the land where I wanted to lay down the buildings and leave the mountain natural as possible based on how this map was made. I wanted to keep that going, but I wanted to have the forest industry here. I think something that this game could do better is adapt the assets to terrain, and I think that would be a cool upgrade. I've always struggled with that with this game. The second you get to some slopes, mostly the intense slopes, like you can see here, that's crazy, but it's realistic too. So right here is a good example of, we laid it down, the assets sink into the ground, and then we have to use terraforming to make it look more natural. So I find the level tool and I level out the area behind it to get it to where I'm satisfied with it, and then I smooth it out to make that slope look a little more natural. And then with Move It, I raise up this one building to make it more even with the terrain. I think it works. It's something that you just need to take a little bit more time and focus on, and you can make things work on slopes. Again, I need a lot more practice in it because it frustrates me. I want to just keep moving and Something that this series is teaching me is the ability to slow down and take care for what I'm building instead of just rushing to get higher population. That's typically how I used to play this game, was just rush to milestones. And now, I mean, we're what, episode 13 in, and we're just about to hit, nope, there it is, 20,000 population. And that's a lot of time into this game with only growing to 20,000. And I'm kind of proud of myself to have, slowed down and cared a little bit more about the town as we go instead of just, rushing. But we are going to probably add a lot more high density. We're going to do it smart. We're not going to cram it into one area. So far, the traffic is really under control in Socktown, and that's something that I want to keep going. In the past, I've lost cities because I added too much high density, and I could not figure it out. Basically, I would have to roll back a lot of the high density areas to deal with the influx of traffic. It didn't matter how efficient my roads are. You can ruin cities by adding too many high dense houses and high dense commercial and high dense industry, like the office buildings, too close to each other. You can cause like these infinite loops where people are going to work and then they're coming home, and the traffic and the highways just backs up, and that's something that I kind of want to avoid here. That's why I opened up all 81 tiles, so I could spread out our entire town and have it naturally grow and then bring everything together as we get done. I'm excited to see where it goes. That's like the phrase of this series. Excited to see how it turns out. I do have all the ideas planned out. I don't have the locations completely planned out, but we're getting there. So we're kind of doing a mirror of the other apartment complex on the other side of the road. So it turns out pretty good. And then we also start adding in, again, some more residential areas here. Even though we added that decent neighborhood to the right there, or down, it keeps moving around. We already have the residential demand spiking again, and there's just not a lot of people to fill the industry jobs. So we're not growing or hitting the employee requirement to level up the industry. So that's why we haven't hit level 5 in our ore industry yet either. So that does happen later on in this episode, and there it is right there. And also adding in more people, adding in more commercial, getting these demands to even out is probably something I should do here. And that's what the goal was. It gets us close to that by the end of this time lapse, but we still need to, there we go, that was the ore industry upgrading. We still do need to get more people in based on the amount of jobs that we have. I haven't peeked at the unemployment, but my guess is it's at like 1 or 2%, which is ideal for the city at all times. We don't want to have a bunch of people unemployed, because then our demands are going to be out of control. Again, I'm going to complain about something in this game. Even in realistic population, they demand commercial way too much, and then you put down commercial buildings to satisfy that demand, and then they can't find workers. So at that point, you probably need to overpopulate your city. That's what I'm going to do probably in the next episode. We're going to do another large increase of population. This one, I think we went up about another 4,000, so that's about 8,000 in the last 2 episodes. But here you can see we're laying down some of the level 2 forest industry, getting the saplings laid down, and also I believe that is the glass. No, that was the ore industry. That's the paper mill, I believe. So we're getting the paper going. Eventually we're going to get all of those cool industries. The one that I'm excited about next is the car manufacturing plant. Well, obviously we need oil for that. You can't make a car without oil, unless they're electric cars. There should be an electric car manufacturing plant, so you don't need the oil industry. I wonder if there's a mod for that. Anyways, so we eventually get to level 3 pretty quick, but I struggle with the terrain again. It really got to me. Yep, there's level 3. We can get the printing press, I believe that said real quick there. But we got to level 3. That's as far as we went. Moved some buildings around. I added in the worker barracks, which I think looks gorgeous in this industry, and added a couple more. Oh, there's our factory for this episode. It's the furniture factory. Again, this is going to be a temporary home. And another animal. Learning so much about this game today. this is going to be a temporary home for this factory. We're just going to get it up and running and working, and then later on, once we have all 4 industries done, we're going to make a centralized hub, probably have a large train station for exporting goods out of the city, as well as moving people around town. So that's something on the docket to say for the upcoming episodes, is some more mass transportation, including the cargo transportation as well. Yeah, it's coming along nice. Not a lot of detailing in this episode. I didn't think the forest area really needed it. There's already a ton of trees. There's not a lot of empty space, so adding in any detail will probably come later on in the development of this industry when we finalize where the factories go. So that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of Socktown. We added some more residential, we added our forest industry, we got our furniture factory going. All in all, I think it was a good episode. On the next one, we might attack the oil industry, but we also might need to give ourselves some time to grow some other areas with commercial and residential to balance things out. At some point, we got to do that, and I got a little obsessed with the industries because I was excited about getting all the factories, but we got to balance it all out. Got some cool, exciting things coming in the next few episodes of different areas I want to build. And also there's some empty gaps in between these areas that we do need to fill in and get those finalized. But again, I'm Sock's Way Up. That's going to do it for today. Thanks for joining, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Socktown.